He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
And we are back. Angry Mortgage is on the air in the midst of a infinite fuckathon generated by the new and glorious president in the United States. Look, I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. Like I don't believe. And Sasha's back.
Round two.
Sasha's back. Thank you, Sasha, for coming back.
Didn't have a choice.
You didn't have any choice. You had no choice. Sasha works here. He said, come in the rooms. Come in the studio, Sasha. Let's go. But Trump, I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. I don't think President Trump is guilty of every wrong thing that ever happens in the history of the world. But he is endlessly confusing and endlessly changeable, and I said in a previous show that I've said before in other comments on social media that in some weird way I missed Trump for 4 years. I mean,
he's entertaining.
There is no end of nonsensical shit that is said. Okay, shocking some of it. But I got to admit, I laughed for about 2 straight weeks when he talked about somehow getting an ultraviolet light into people during COVID. Okay. And the comedian then did the thing about, are we shoving it up our ass? I mean, and then the drinking bleach part of the same interview. I mean, I laughed for 2 weeks because it's spur of the moment stuff and it's nonsense, but it's funny.
Well, he remembers high level details of conversations, and then he makes up anything in between that he can't remember, right?
There's a lot of that going on. And there's also some, there's absolutely no question that there are some things that President Trump is going to do that are going to help America. They may fuck other countries, but they're absolutely going to help America.
Oh, Canada.
And we as Canadians need to start to think more clearly about the things that he plans to do that will, keep his economy going. It's yet to be known for sure.
Yeah.
But we maybe we're going to have to think about some of those things.
Well, look, the genie's out of the bottle. I think that there's a lot of people across the country, particularly in Ontario, right? There's a lot of manufacturing that happens in Ontario that goes to the US. And a lot of manufacturers, a lot of employers, a lot of businesses are now saying, well, why am I here? Right?
If their customers are in the U.S.
If their customers, and they
Loblaws isn't going anywhere.
No.
Safeway's not going anywhere. No. They're fine.
They could reduce their prices. That'd be nice, but that's never happening, I don't think. But no, I mean, look, there's like what? Most of the consumers are in the U.S. for a lot of the things that are manufactured in Ontario specifically, right?
Particularly in the automotive industry.
Yeah, like I don't know the specific figures, but something like 10-1, something like that.
Yeah, our trade with the United States is a 10-1 ratio. In other words, it impacts our trade with the United States impacts what? Well, you got this kind of shitty water here.
What do you mean?
It's not Fiji water, okay?
This is the water you give me. What do you mean?
What do you mean? You mean this is the water from the office fridge?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we're not allowed to drink it.
Executives drink Fiji water. Okay?
Oh, you got the nice water.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some. I try to. What the fuck? I'm gonna have to promote you now. Okay, now throw that away and drink the Fiji water. Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, we have a secret stash of Fiji water. Only executives drink. So.
All right. Looks like I am invited back on the podcast.
You're now like a high level person, and you're drinking the Fiji water.
Well, I tell you, after the last.
Oh, by the way, you know what? We everybody else calls this?
What?
bougie water.
The bougie water.
It's the
It is
bougie water. Yeah, it is bougie water. Because I'll tell you, someday we're going to talk about the story of Fiji water, because these are the same people who are being accused of treason by people in California because they use up an astronomical amount of water for their almonds. So these are there's the same people who own Fiji water, same couple who owns Fiji water, also owns Black Diamond almonds.
Yeah.
Which people don't realize it, but almond milk takes about one almond takes about 1.5 gallons of water to grow. Mm-hmm. So it's
pretty crazy.
So almond milk is literally the stupidest thing on earth. Okay.
I mean, if you got lactose intolerance, I get it, but it takes a lot of water. You're right. It's insane. But I mean, look,
and also I think if we had a time machine and go back in time, like even only 50 years, and say, you know what? I know this milk is cheap, and we seem to have been drinking it for about 8,000 years or more. But fuck it, we need to make milk from oats. I think if you went back, to the 1970s and said, don't you think we really need milk from oats? Everybody would say, you are fucked in the head. Okay. And yet today, here we are.
People buy it, though.
Here we are.
People buy it. And like back to the manufacturing thing, like if people are buying stuff, where are they buying? It's the US, right? So if these manufacturers with tons of jobs in Ontario.
This is an import to Canada. Fiji water is an import.
Yeah, I mean, this is. But I mean, exactly. So if we're importing or exporting to the US and all of a sudden it becomes too expensive with these tariffs that may or may not continue, may or may not be phased, whatever, they're on the table forever now.
Like we tape the show on Fridays, and the show comes out on Tuesdays, and as of Thursday, 25% tariffs were absolutely fucking guaranteed right out of the president's fucking mouth. Yeah. Okay. Then midday on Friday, maybe it's fucking March 1st now. I mean, that could be. I mean, we don't know. Then the Secretary of the Commerce, Howard Lutnick, also known as the Dark Prince of Wall Street. Okay. But Howard Lutnick, people don't know this, but Howard Lutnick was actually anybody ever watched, you ever heard of this show called Billions? There's a show called Billions.
Yes,
so the main character is a guy named Bobby Axelrod, okay?
Yep,
who's a hedge fund guy, which is exactly the same as Howard Lutnick. It's like the whole story of Bobby Axelrod in Billions is based on Howard Lutnick. His whole story of how he became a billionaire. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Howard Lutnick is Trump's friend, and he's the new Commerce Secretary. And he was assuring everybody on the committee, because you have to go before Senate for hearings, there's going to be tariffs for fucking, yes, there will be tariffs. Yeah. It may be sometime after April, but there will be tariffs. And then there will be big tariffs to scare the fuck out of people for border security. And then there will be just tariffs on stuff that we think is unfair trade. So, by the way, let's get this out of the way. Yeah, fuck me. There shouldn't be any fentanyl manufactured or trafficked in Canada. So I cannot fucking bitch and moan about, Canada, Mexico is more than Canada. So, why do we have to have tariffs? Hey, fuckers, shouldn't be no fucking fentanyl. Okay. Jesus Christ, can we please beef up our fucking police forces so that we can make that, I don't want any fentanyl. Do you?
No, it's a crisis.
Mind you, pharmaceutical fentanyl is really, really good. But
I'll trust you.
Anyway, if you're an old man, you get these
the good stuff. Yeah.
Well, you get colonoscomies. Okay.
We're going here. Okay.
Yeah, we're going there.
All right.
And if you've had a couple of those, and they give you fentanyl to give you like a twilight sedation.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was coming out of it the last time, a couple of years ago, I said to the nurse, I said, "Oh man, that is a good drug." And she says, this honest conversation, she said to me, "Yes, it is, but you don't want to get it on the street."
No kidding.
Anyway. So, but yes, the bottom line to that is, we do not want fucking fentanyl in Canada. No. They've been busting labs out west. They're fucking huge. I mean, they're fucking huge. Now everybody says, but wait, then we have one of the ministers, because there's so many new cabinet ministers.
But more is coming from the U.S.
More is coming from Mexico. Yeah, more is coming from Mexico. So, and then a bunch of people started to argue about that. Oh no, these labs, the Mexican cartels with the help of the Chinese, because all the precursors
Yeah.
for fentanyl come from China.
Yeah.
And, there's a long history. There's a great guy who does a tremendous amount of work on that. His name is Sam Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
You can find him online under Scooper Cooper. And he has got so much evidence of this stuff, this massive Chinese-Mexican cartel, fentanyl production, how it's financed. So yeah, fuck me. The U.S. has a perfect right to say, if they're manufacturing it in Canada, you must fucking stop it from coming across our border.
Yeah.
And
do you think that's real though, or do you think that's just a tactic that he's saying for now and that prepping for something like the USMCA or the NAFTA agreement later?
Everything with Trump is a tactic.
Yeah.
Okay. But can we at least all agree fentanyl bad? Okay.
Fentanyl bad.
Let's stop the fucking fentanyl.
Fentanyl bad.
Let's do that. Can we also all agree that there are criminals going back and forth across the border?
Yes.
We can agree on that, right?
Yeah.
So can we just agree border jumping criminals, bad. Let's just say bad, okay? And
keep it simple.
Why not fix it? Like, why the fuck not fix fentanyl bad, border jumping criminals bad, even just plain illegal people going back and forth across the border bad, okay?
Yeah.
If we can just reach a consensus on that and fix it, well, then I guess some of the bullshit part of his argument has been suppressed. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
So why not? I think why not do it just for our own safety? I mean, do we want a bunch of illegals going back and forth across the border?
No. And I think the feds are putting like 1.5 billion or something extra, which is just a drop in the bucket.
It's 1.5 billion over 5 years. So,
is it?
It's the usual defense GDP bullshit. Like, we'll get there someday. We'll get to 2% someday. We're only at 1.3 today, but we'll get there. The craziest part about the whole defense argument with NATO about getting to 2%, when you talk to anybody, when you go directly to the military and say, so if we authorize the spending, can you get it taken care of for us? Everybody in the military will tell you, well, our procurement systems don't work. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't know how to buy the weapons shit. Mm-hmm. And that makes me really scratch my head. Like, what the fuck? You don't know how to buy weapons? I mean, well, we'll come back to that another point. But all right, so on the mortgage side of things.
Yeah, there we go.
But let's face it. When you see this podcast on Tuesday, like 12 different fucking things could have happened on Tariff by the time we get there.
And that's why I was just saying genie's out of the bottle. Everyone right now knows that it's a possibility in the future because it's been addressed now. Our guaranteed America is our best friend thing gone out the window, right? We have to be more cautious. And manufacturers are probably thinking to themselves, should I just go to the US? Should I set up there? It's cheaper, safer. That's the risk that I think a lot of people are facing.
That is exactly correct. That is the risk. Yeah. So the risk is, I watched a podcast on somebody who's make chickpea snacks in Canada. So he's making chickpea snacks and he says, but the thing is, I export 70% of the chickpea snacks, finished goods, to the US. Mm-hmm. Because that's the bigger market and they like their chickpea snacks too. Okay. So I'm shipping it out. So if it's 70% of my market and I'm under constantly sweating whether I'm going to be abused by tariffs, it ain't that. I mean, yes, our dollar is lower, which is good.
Yeah.
But the rents on his manufacturing facilities are quadruple what they would be in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So he says, he was quite reasonable in the podcast. He said, hey, I mean, there's trade-offs, right? There's trade-offs. Like, I can move to places. It's not too hard to put the factory equipment onto trucks and ship it across the border.
And I think a reasonable question then is, I think some people might also be thinking, well, should I just try and ship more domestically, or are there more international partners that I can partner with? I don't know the answer to that.
I know. I do know. I know. I do know the answer.
Tell me. What?
The answer is it's true.
Yeah.
But it's not true for domestic. Our market is our market. Okay. We're 40 million people. That's it. Okay. I can answer you the international question though.
Okay.
You have to find the customers.
Takes time.
Time. So if you're faced with 70% of my customers right now are in the US, and I never know what the fuck from any given day, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to have a tariff or not.
Yeah.
Why don't I just move?
Yeah. Okay.
Because your arguments sound, except that it takes time, lots of time. You can't just decide, you know what? I think I'm going to sell the chickpea snacks in Europe.
Yeah.
good fucking luck. They have more regulations than, you have to submit that to fucking The Hague for the European Union to think about for about a year before, all right, we've analyzed the snacks. You have too much salt. Fuck off and come back. Okay.
Yeah.
It's where your customers are right now. Okay. Which is the whole story of automotive. Parts, in some cases, to manufacture a vehicle, parts go back and forth between Canada and the US as many as 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's ship this piece down to the States, put those parts on, ship the piece back up, reassemble here, back down to the States for some, who the fuck knows? So it goes final assembly. It can go back and forth many, many times. So it's an integrated supply system. Okay. Particularly in Southern Ontario and New York, Ohio, and Detroit, the Detroit area, the Michigan area.
Makes sense.
Those are the hubs of making cars.
Yep.
Okay. Those and car parts. Okay. So they're all pretty close to each other. They can all get just-in-time parts to each other within a day.
Yep.
All of them, because that's why there's so many fucking trucks on the highways, right? So the plants are also down there as well. So if you just felt that you were going to be confuckled by this madness, then you'd say to yourself, let's just expand the plant out. Let's just expand the space of your parts manufacturer. We've already got some parts going on down there in the States. Let's just put the equipment on a truck and ship it down. We'll just give 30 days notice to all these unionized employees in our parts plant. Okay. Because that goes through your head, because you just say, if it's going to be an ongoing problem for 4 years.
I guess Amazon just did that in Quebec.
Well, that was different. That was they didn't want a union.
Yeah.
Okay, so they didn't want a union, so they shut down Quebec. But by the way, there probably will be the same number of employees. That's something that was kind of missed. There will be the same number of employees.
It's just contract.
It's just contracted out. So there'll never be any possibility of a union.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the story of tariffs. That's why it's so difficult, terrifying, why it's so uncertain, and how is it going to affect mortgages and housing. All right, let's talk about that for a minute. We had a bond yield meltdown for Friday morning.
Yeah.
On Friday morning, the bond yields just melted down in Canada. It looked like if they stayed there, the rates could go as low as 3.79, 3.89 on 3-year, 5-year fixed.
Yep.
3-year, at one point, 3-year bond yields, which directly affect 3-year fixed rates.
Correct.
They went to like 14-month lows.
It's wild. They're down 50 basis points in the last couple of weeks. It's crazy.
Oh, now they just after the story of the March, the story of the tariffs moving to March broke on Friday, they kind of popped back up again. But I mean, like it's that volatile. But what it really points out is how important it is in any kind of mortgage work. You've got a mortgage coming up for renewal soon.
Yeah.
If you're buying a house, it is just so critical to shop. I know we've talked about it on the show many, many times.
Yeah.
But it's becoming even more critical.
Well, and especially in the last couple of months, it's been the bond yields have been so volatile. The rates are changing week over week sometimes. And so what you think might be correct current information could be outdated, right? And so it's important for you to shop around. And also, irregardless of any of that, the banks are being hyper competitive, but not at the beginning. And we talked about this a bit last time. They're offering upfront to clients who ought to be given the best rates upfront, right?
So what do you mean by that? What kind of client what does that client look like?
Someone who's been with them for years and years and years, someone with great assets, great income.
Assets with the bank.
Sure.
So they got big money in a checking account, they got RSPs, they're like doctors, dentists,
lawyers.
Yeah.
But even just everyday people as well, just people who have been with banks for ages who ought to be considered, for example, from a realistic perspective, a great client, right? Someone who should be getting offered a
top-tier client.
Yeah. They're not. They're getting offered something sometimes 50 basis points higher than what's realistically out there. And so they'll have to shop around, and then they'll come to us, and then they'll get offered a realistic rate up front, and then they'll go back to their banks or a senior retention person.
It's better than realistic. It's a good rate. You get a good rate. You hear about a good rate from Butler Mortgage. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Very nice. Butler Mortgage. Very nice. And then they go back, and then the bank will sometimes lower. We're still beating them for the most part, but it's crazy. People need to shop around. They should not accept things up front. And the banks are not, the banks are being very cautious with their margins right now. And there's going to be some people who don't, and the banks make money off of that.
They're aggressive about retention.
Yeah.
They're cautious about their margins.
Correct.
So, this is becoming so evident to our our business is that the banks will fight to retain the client, and all lenders will fight to retain the client, but
only once they know you're shopping.
Only once they hear about it. So we actually got a testimonial, because we do try to get the message out. So we have a testimonial. This is an email we got from a client.
Was this yesterday?
But they actually didn't turn out to be a client. As you know, we're just reading from the email. As you know, the first renewal rate we got from the bank was 5.45. That was a 5-year variable.
Yep.
Just 3 weeks ago. But by telling them that we were working with Butler Mortgage, suddenly the rate dropped to 4.85. Okay, like what the fuck is that
just
all about?
Just by mention of our name.
The mention of our name. Now, look, I'm not so crazy as not to realize that that's also true. They could have said I'm working with CIBC and I got this offer, or they could have said I'm working with Rate Hub and I got this offer. I mean, the people at the bank who look after, called a retention team. Okay, everybody's retention team is trained about who has rates. I mean, so who has the best deal. So there's a seminar they put on when they hire people, and they say, if they say True North, Rate Hub, Nesto, Butler, we got to worry. Okay, that's it. We don't know. We are paying fucking attention when they say these names, okay? Because the way those companies work is based on low rates. So we know we have a competitor on our hands. Now, that shouldn't surprise anybody. Like banks are trying to hold on to their huge multi-billion-dollar books of business. So they will train people how to deal with that. So finish off the email. So working with Butler, then the bank dropped the rate to 4.85. But then a little later, it got dropped to 4.50. Okay. Then just this morning, when the Bank of Canada, because it was
after the rate drop,
this literally within the week, after the rate drop, it went down to 4.25. And I signed just 2 days before the maturity date.
Yeah.
So
just to clarify about this client, this was an excellent client, really nice person. We could have gotten them a great rate too, matched all that. It's just about the timing, right? And so people don't realize, and we've talked about this before, it takes a minimum of 4 weeks to get a mortgage done. We can get you paperwork in a couple of days, and the lawyers typically book a couple of weeks out after that, right?
Oh, we should point out to people that on straight transfers, like straight switches between banks at renewal, they're not paying any legal fees.
No, it's free. And that's the free lawyers book 3 weeks out, right? And that's what it is. And so this client, we matched the rate. We had an excellent deal for them. Wonderful person. I'm glad we were able to help them with this rate reduction. It's just that because it was left so late, because the banks didn't remind them in time to shop around. And of course, why would they, right? They're going to give it to the very last minute. The open term fees for them to be in an open term mortgage, for them to get a slightly better rate, just didn't make sense. So it made sense for them to stay in this particular case. So
and by the way, we are in the business of doing mortgages, but we don't lose our minds when people stay with the bank. So I'm constantly listening to, when I look at mortgage brokers who talk online and in WhatsApp groups or in Facebook for the old mortgage brokers, the ones that are old, they're on Facebook, but for the people on WhatsApp groups, they talk to each other about, oh my God, I got them a better offer. They just took it to their bank and the bank matched it. What a slap in the face. Okay, folks, mortgage brokers out there, listen. No one fucking cares about you, okay? But I got some such a good service. Hey, it's just the transfer switch. You offer a better rate if the bank matched and you can't go do any better. Yeah, but they only got it because I offered it. Yeah, guess what? Butler, Nesto, True North, Rate Hub, we do that every fucking hour, okay? By the hour we do this. We provide quotes that allow people to get. You can't get upset about it. No. You just understand. You do your very best. Yeah. You put the very best possible rate on the table, and that's it. You do, and sometimes the bank matches, and there's no point. I mean, that's just no point. But folks, sometimes they don't match. Like about 50% of the time, they don't match. Okay, so your phone call to Butler Mortgage or any of the other companies who discount rates substantially in this country. you're just making money to talk on the phone.
Well, people, just quick mention here, people might not also realize the other options available to them outside of the big 5 banks that are still exceptional interest rates too, right? Especially on switch transfers.
Yeah.
If you're doing a refinance, maybe a bit harder, but switch transfer, there are lots of available options out there that will beat the banks.
Until they match.
Until they match. But at least for the last month and a half, there was a good time when they weren't matching, and this was
it moves in waves.
Yeah,
like
changes.
any business that is a traded commodity. Interest rates are effectively a traded commodity. Mm-hmm. So in any of those kinds of businesses, where it's the price of oranges or mortgage rates, they move. There's a cycle. There's times when one guy has a better deal, and there's times when the other guy has a better deal.
Yeah.
And it's not always completely understandable, but it's true. So that's why you have to shop around. It's absolutely necessary to shop around. It's just required. Yep. Now, every day you're taking 20 calls from customers or borrowers. Yeah. So I think purchases are up in the last 30 days. I think they were up a little bit in the winter, like last year or late last year, but I think they're up in the last 30 days.
Yeah, I think realtors have been really aggressive in pounding the idea that you should buy before the rate increase, buy before the spring market, because it's going to get crazy.
Well, some of that's bullshit, right?
A lot of it's bullshit. A lot of it's bullshit.
But
some of it's truth, right? And so, you're still in a buyer's market, but you are seeing purchases up. I'm seeing a lot more purchases, which is great.
No, we got to slow that down. So it's a lot more purchases compared with fuck all purchases.
Yes, yeah, okay? Compared to November, December.
You got to be careful when you talk about statistical trends, because
sure,
if it's up, and I would agree with you, I see the numbers too every day. Purchase business is up, but all that being said,
offers are coming
compared
in
with 2021.
Yeah.
It's still fuck all. Okay?
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
Still very low.
But offers are, so we're seeing offers, but offers are coming in low still. For example, so I had one client just today, who they did an inspection on a house, and it came back awful, moisture everywhere, rot everywhere. And so we had an approval for them. And literally the same day, they said, we made an offer on another property, unconditional, because we know that we could get approved for that amount. You already had us approved. And it was accepted $25,000 less than asking price, right? So there are still purchases happening. It is still a buyer's market, but the purchases are coming in a little low, for sure.
Yeah, you mean this is sales that are occurring under list price?
Yes, correct.
Sure. Yeah, we've observed that too. Yeah. But to your point, this is another thing that we're seeing in our business, particularly in Ontario, although it's also true in Alberta and British Columbia. Buyers realize that they have some power.
Yeah.
It's not like 2020 through 2022 where it was just batshit madness that the realtor would tell you, well, if you just don't...
You got 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes to increase this price by $200,000, raise your offer by $200,000, no inspection, no financing, no fuck all.
Also, I'm taking your firstborn.
Close in 30 days or you're fucked. You can't even... I won't even show the offer to the sellers. Okay, like that was the world, right, in 2021.
Well, now those people are in trouble. Now the condos in Toronto specifically.
There's lots. So we beat that story to death. I got
we're over that.
Condo crazy town.
Yeah.
We're not over it. It's going to get worse. Okay, but we do it so much. People are starting to say, "Could you please talk about something else besides the fucking condos?"
Yeah.
But don't worry, the condos will come back, folks. There will be nothing but wild shit happening in the Toronto condo market for the next year. I mean, the summer you're going to hear that we might be once a week in the summer about some new disaster. But let's talk about this new situation we're faced with, where for years, and by the way, not just 2021. The real estate market was very aggressive in 2016, 17. There was lots of no condition bids. There was lots of bids where, hey, we don't have any conditions because we know we have to have no conditions because the sellers are in charge. Okay. Now we see lots of things going on. So to your point, bad inspections. There didn't used to be inspections. Now there's inspections all the time. So you've seen a lot of that, right? A lot of
Yeah.
issues on inspections, little
Yeah.
price reductions, all that
Well,
stuff.
I think I used to sell inspections, so I do think.
Sorry,
that-
you used to sell inspections?
I used to work for a very, very reputable company in Canada who sold house inspections.
Who was that?
It's Carson Dunlop.
Oh yeah,
Shout out to them. They're fantastic.
They are probably
Yeah.
the top of the heap.
Yeah, and they're top of the top. They're a great company, and they're necessary. You need to get them, and during a time, there's 2-year period where it's very difficult to convince people to get them. People are paying the price, right? Because it's harder to get insurance. It's harder for the banks to get insurance. There are lots of costs associated with things that you can't immediately see. Pig on a lipstick on a pig, sort of.
Okay, well, but let's get some clarity on inspections, because I'm a believer in house inspections. Okay,
Yeah.
but the idea of any house inspection is it's like a program. Like they're going to look at a certain group of things, and they're basically programmed to find something wrong. Like they'll say this downspout should be
pointed. Or they get sued.
Yeah, this downspout should be pointed this way instead of that way.
Yeah.
Which nobody actually gives a fuck about. But they will discover hellacious issues. Okay, they will discover that there's something really bad in the attic. Like it's not a slasher movie either. It's just something going on up there. They will discover that there is definitely been a black mold problem in one of the rooms, and it still probably might be present. I mean, they can learn things that you.
Well, the big
hard
things
to find
that
out.
the banks care about that affect insurance, the bank's ability to insure properties, and people don't realize that whether or not you do CMHC, oftentimes the banks will insure mortgages themselves, right? So the things that affect that are going to be
banks, and you have to get insurance for a bank to give you a mortgage.
right,
You have
but
to have house insurance.
the insurable category. No, I mean the insurable categories, right? So when we're talking about the banks being able to qualify it as insurable, right? You have the black molds, you have the asbestos, you have structural issues, rot issues, foundation issues, right? So those are the things that the banks care about that an inspection is going to show you that might not have been.
Well, also, if you have aluminum wiring, you're fucked anyway, right?
Knob and tube, aluminum wiring. Yeah.
You're not going to get any house insurance. You're going to get house insurance that's so restrictive.
Yeah.
And you're going to get lenders turn you down. So I like to think that the true story about inspections are that the inspections are designed to find something wrong somehow.
Yeah.
But if it's too wrong, as you just described, if there's too much moisture damage, if there's too much likelihood of ongoing moisture, which automatically guarantees mold, then you should walk away.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So, and we didn't used to see that, obviously, in times when there was no inspections. We never used to see it. But now that there's inspections almost every single time, we're seeing a lot more of it. And what about the condo problem? Like there's condo financial failures, right?
Oh, yeah. So are you talking about condo corporation financial failures or
No,
condos
I'm talking about people who are going to go and buy it, because there's more conditions now, right?
Yep.
There's we're going to really focus on the condo. Just so you know, folks, if you buy a condominium unit resale, your lawyer automatically is required to get, the lawyer is handling your purchase transaction. As a buyer, your lawyer's required to get a copy of the condo financials, the condo status certificate, which goes over all the history of any possible legal actions against the condo, any problems with the the reserve fund. I mean, it's a detailed report that everybody has to get. That's a requirement of the Condo Act that you must see. But now there's people who are saying, I don't like the looks of these financials. And never used to hear that before. Yeah. But you're experiencing it now.
Yeah, it happens on a couple of files for sure. There are some condo buildings that certain lenders just will not lend on because of how bad some of the financial stuff has been in the past.
So let's be specific about that. So that's typically
older condos.
That's a failure to maintain an adequate reserve fund.
Yeah.
Right. So in other words, it's an older building, but they haven't done the right. By the way, this is why everything's going to hell in a handbasket in Florida. They never had these rules before in Florida. Now they do. But you find out that there has to be an engineering study every so often, every so many years. You must do an engineering study, and you must evaluate what needs to be fixed, and then you have to have a review of the reserves. There has to be a reserve fund to guarantee there's enough money to take care of repairs.
Yep.
So if that reserve fund is dwindled down to sweet fuck all, then you might want to walk away from that purchase. And you've been seeing a bit more of that.
Yeah. People have more choice for sure. And there are cautionary tales of things being sort of on the cusp of okay and not, which people need to consider. Is this going to be a continuing problem in the future too? Be careful.
Well, yeah, everybody it used to be, we'd even see lawyers recommend that you don't buy because the condo, status certificate didn't look pretty, and then you still bought.
Yeah.
Look, obviously lenders think about that too, but some lenders are only looking at the status certificate. They're just taking the lawyer's opinion, and sometimes the lawyer's opinion is, yes, I reviewed it, and they don't actually delve into the precise details of the status certificate. Yep. Some do. Some lenders do. Absolutely, they do.
Yep.
And we rare occasions we see failures there, but we certainly see more people. Is it fair to say we see more people walking away from purchases than we've seen before? Yeah. Because of these various issues, right?
They have the chance to. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a buyer's market. Yeah. In a buyer's market, particularly in Ontario, it's a buyer's market. I think the same is true in British Columbia, other provinces. And if you see something you don't like, you say, well, we'll just look at another one, which we went years when that didn't happen.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So it's a trickier world for everybody working in real estate. It's a trickier world for mortgage agents because you could be a realtor who thinks they've got a deal done, but they don't have a deal done because people want to walk away.
Yep.
Okay. Well, but we are noticing purchase business has picked up again.
Yep.
Not based on the really, not the volume that we saw in the past. It's as simple as that. So we will think for a minute about some of these condo situations in downtown Toronto. I've done a whole show on it. It came out on Monday, short YouTube that came out on Monday, detailing a particularly bizarre set of circumstances that you brought forward.
Oh, that was my client.
That was your client, yeah.
They bought an entire floor, 10 condos.
Yeah, Jesus.
It's a really good realtor, promised to go up.
But look, I mean, that's something that we have to think about more. The thing to think about today, I believe, is how will this obvious and just endless problem with dog crate condos, will it, because I get this question endlessly in all my social media work, is that, Ron, isn't this eventually going to come to fuck single family? Okay. I mean, if there's that many problems with condos, if there's that big a decline in pricing, if there's that much, disinterest in buying condos, is it going to seep through? So I think the first thing we have to say is the low-rise single-family townhouse buyer is not like a condo buyer.
No.
That's fair, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that there's a couple different perspectives you can take here. People normally start in condos, right? So condos are often a starter home. But recently, in the past few years, they've been an incredibly good investment for people. So I think a large amount of people were investing in condos recently. So I think with the sort of depreciation of condos for right now, the people who bought to get into like first time home, for example, I think what that means is they're going to stay in those condos probably a little bit longer.
There's also a small number of people in the last 5 years. So yeah.
Yeah. So they're going to stay in that condo longer than anticipated, which might cause some life delays before they eventually move up into a single family dwelling, right? That's sort of how it works. I think there are a lot of investors who are walking away from their investments regardless of the loss.
Well, that's on the purchase side.
On the purchase side, yeah. So I do think, we're maybe, I think we're actually maybe approaching an opportunity for more people to enter the housing market through those condos that are obviously getting a reduction in price. People who bought in the last couple of years, who bought for themselves rather than an investment, are probably just going to stay in those for a little bit longer before they move up. And so, yeah, that could have an effect on single family, but ultimately, it's Canada. Like, housing starts are down. There's only so many houses. There's lots of people in Canada, despite some of the immigration stuff happening right now, right? So I think that housing is still a safe bet on the detached within a certain price margin, right? When you get them to the crazy price margins, you have to ask who's going to buy it at this price.
Yeah, I think that the right way to look at it is that people who made, sadly, and you, if you have any humanity at all, I mean, you just say to yourself, because lots of the commentators on social media like to say, no, they were all fucking stupid. Everybody who bought in 2021 was a fucking idiot. They deserve whatever happens to them. Please, we just don't need that. Okay, we just don't need it. But and you and I don't have any sympathy for the guys who were just flipping houses and just putting in IKEA kitchens and wanting to make $500,000.
Yeah,
okay?
I mean, you feel bad for the person who buys 10 condos, but at the same time,
actually, I don't actually feel
like,
bad for the person who buys. I actually don't feel bad for the person who buys 10 condos,
Yeah.
but I do feel bad for somebody who just wanted a house for his family and drastically overpaid.
Oh, that's the person.
Drastically
Absolutely.
overpaid in 2021.
Yeah.
And let's understand this with clarity, folks. The people who bought in the far reaches of the Fraser Valley, and the people who bought in the far distant, far-flung 905, the very edges of the 905,
Really fun.
those prices are down 17, 18% already from the peak. They're down. They're way down. Okay. No, they are. They're way, way down. Okay. So they're not down right in good areas. Like they're not, well, I shouldn't say good, but like in central 905, like when we talk about Vaughan, Mississauga, Oakville, the sort of central 905 that's right touching the borders of Toronto. Prices in Toronto are off a bit, but only for those who bid up in 2021. The fairest thing to say is, and the most important thing to say is, what most people don't know in Ontario is they quit building single family houses to any great extent in 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, the ratio went to 80% high rise, 20% single family builds in Ontario in 20, and it never recovered. And as for the last 14 months, single family construction is down to next to nothing, just a handful.
I mean, there's a municipal argument for that, to have density to make it more able to support a large number of people in a small area. That makes sense when you're talking about growing a population. But yeah, I mean, single family houses are fine right now. Like they're down a little bit, maybe, but they'll bounce back.
No, they're down in those people who overbid in 2021.
2021 was the worst. Yes. Yeah. 2021 was awful.
So they're definitely down.
Yeah.
And we, in some cases, we legitimately need to feel sorry for those people. I mean, it basically traps them inside the home. I mean,
well, and that's what I was saying. They're going to stay there longer. It's gonna stop people from moving houses.
But you know what? When I watch all these videos from realtors looking at condos, and it's just amazing to me when they talk about the dog crate condo buildings. Like, it's wild. They keep talking about some buildings having chronic lack of elevators. You know, that there should have been 6 elevators and there's only 4, and one of them's broken at all times. So, or under maintenance, because let's face it, folks, you don't want to get into a broken elevator, right? I mean, let them do their maintenance. That's fine. But what happens is, if there really should have been 6 elevators to make sure that you could get an elevator every minute and a half, when there's 4 elevators, one of them's down, you're like 10-minute waits for some elevators sometimes. I mean, that's a lot.
Part of that problem is the cost for developing, right? The developers were having to reduce the space for other things to try and squeeze in extra condos to try and make a profit, because there are huge fees for developing, right? Which sort of the provinces and the municipalities are addressing a little bit now. Too little, too late.
Too little, too late. We have some, and we do have some shows coming up on Angry Mortgage with some people from that industry. Yeah. People who are developers, people who are engaged in marketing of the raw land that people build condos on, even though nobody's building condos right now. We're going to explore some of those, exactly what you're talking about. Exactly the idea that the whole infrastructure of building a high-rise condo went berserk between government fees, taxes, development fees, and the incredibly high cost of land in some cases. And then the really high cost of construction. Because, we don't realize it in Ontario, but like the average, how many people actually build subdivisions or build high-rise condos? That is a tiny number of people, and there's a whole bunch of people who live in them, but they don't know how to build them or what it costs or what's involved. And when you start to find out how over-regulated it is, it's just fucking shocking. Okay, absolutely shocking.
Part of the problem has been going on since like the 80s, where federal governments are kicking things down to the provinces are kicking things down to the municipalities, right? So municipalities are having to take on more costs, which, I mean, they're very, very, very limited in what they can do. It's either just property taxes, development charges, or things like speeding tickets, right? They're very limited in their revenue generation, or begging the provinces for what scraps they can get.
Although I suspect they could spend less somehow.
Sure,
I think there might be a little waste involved somewhere along
absolutely.
the line.
And you and I have talked about this a lot, and we meet in the middle. We're very much in agreement that there needs to be cost cutting, but also, stuff rolls downhill, right? And it's getting to the point now where, at least in BC, you've got the strata corporations, Ontario, you've got the condos, where they're actually recognized as a fourth level of government now. And it's like, you get to take care of the roads in this private condo or strata. You get to take care of the trash removal. You get to take care of the fire hydrants, right?
Yeah,
that's on the strata.
That's actually true.
And it's like, it rolls downhill, and like, where does it stop, right? So I think we need to reimagine totally how, municipalities are supported, generally speaking. Otherwise, it's just going to get worse and worse.
And
and worse.
that brings us to our favorite part of the program.
What the actual fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. We've been working on getting that cue right, folks. Yeah. We've been working on it. Successful now. What the actual fuck? I'm going to tell you what the actual fuck it is. Again, I'm not part of Trump derangement syndrome. There's a lot of things I think he's batshit fucking crazy, but this is the thing he's not crazy about. We in North America, we can't fool ourselves about environment and climate change anymore. We can't make that the complete guiding thought that we operate our countries on any longer. Because guess what? They're building fucking coal plants in India and China. I know, I get lots of fucking comments. All you people who want
they're going to mention the space.
They want to talk about renewables in China and this and that. You can all fuck yourselves. Okay. The reality is, the truth is, the undeniable truth is, they're building coal-fired plants in India and China to develop electricity. So we can't even. Oh, and by the way, they're mining. China is the largest source of rare earths and minerals in the world, and they're also committing to not giving those products to other countries
unless the U.S. gets Greenland.
By the way, almost every single one of these rare earths and minerals is in Canada. We don't fucking mine them because it's fucking impossible to get permits from Environment. Environment Canada just fucks you into the ground. You have unmanageable issues to mine anything with Indigenous people. I'm about honoring treaty rights all the way. But unless we figure it out pretty fucking fast, that we need to extract energy and minerals in this country to create wealth, we are fucked. Okay? Fucked.
We have a resource industry. We should lean on it and not sell it to other countries.
Sell it, make money. I don't give a fuck. Sell it and build nuclear reactors. Okay? I don't care.
That's fine.
Okay? Like, why in the name of Jesus is America buying uranium from Kazakhstan in Russia? Okay? And it's essentially, and Russia. We have 20% of all the uranium on Earth in Canada. Like, for fuck's sakes, people, cut these fucking regs.
Yeah.
Cut this environmental bullshit. Everybody get together, provinces, federal, Indigenous people. Get fucking digging and get fucking extracting and make some fucking money. Oh my God, there will be tailings from the. Oh no, you don't know what you're talking about. We can't do that. Other people are gonna fucking do it. They're gonna fucking do it in South America. They're gonna fucking do it in Africa. They're gonna fucking do it somewhere else. The Australians are digging their whole country up, supplying fucking iron ore to fucking and coal. The Australians are digging coal like there's no fucking tomorrow.
Well, the tariffs have opened up a conversation in Canada where I think it's actually a good thing. We're talking about interprovincial trade becoming easier. We're talking about working together better.
You know, we've been talking about that for 75 years, right?
Well, it might become a little bit more serious now. And just so we're clear, to go back a little bit, when I said don't sell down the country, I meant don't sell the companies to other countries. Keep Canadian companies so that we can profit instead of just selling things.
Have other people in the world invest billions and billions and billions of dollars into Canadian mining and energy companies.
Sure.
Create good jobs.
Yeah.
Make money, make huge tax revenues. We make like the taxes on energy we sell to America creates our actual trade surplus. It creates the whole trade surplus. It creates our current account balance. So if we don't do it, we are fucked. All right. We have to expand it. We have to become better at making sure that we can sell the stuff we have in the ground cleanly as possible.
As cleanly as possible.
But not, oh, fuck no, we're not going to do it. You know,
Working with stakeholders too, like working with the First Nations, for example, and the people in the
honor the treaties.
Yeah.
Honor the goddamn treaties, but don't make it so that everybody's got to be paid an extra fucking payment, okay? So honor the treaties every time, but let's streamline it. Let's make sure we can extract these things, sell it, become a valuable nation on Earth, become a powerhouse of resources, so that everybody just says, well, you know what? Canada's a pain in the ass to do anything in. They're too fucking strict.
Yeah.
Particularly when Donald Trump is tearing strict down to the bones. Like, he's making it so that I'm sure we're going to hear Donald Trump say, yeah, no, we got to close the whole Department of the Environment, close it down. Okay, we're going to hear that. All right.
Very soon.
Very soon. Okay. They are going to drill, baby, drill. They're going to dig, baby, dig. They're going to do stuff that makes America money because they have $1 trillion interest payment every year on their debt. So, folks, yeah, that's my what the actual fuck. Get off our fucking ass. Build highways, build mines, extract energy, build pipelines. We got to do it now. We can't think about it for 4 years. All right, we're out.